Hello and welcome to Co-ople mode. I'm Matt.
And I'm Rose.
And welcome back. Time for a palate cleanser.
Yeah, time for something fun. I hope. Something fun?
Yeah, let's Dark Souls 2.
No. No thanks.
2 and 3 at the same time.
Oh my god. At the same
one
time.
controller in each hand.
Get good.
We're going to get good, scrub. You have any idea what this week's going to be?
No, you're good at keeping secret.
I generally try
what
to.
we're going to do.
All right, well, the game this week is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh, cool. I get to play the Pokemon game.
Yes, you get to play the Pokemon game.
Oh.
I do have to correct myself. The correct English pronunciation is Arceus, but I don't like saying that, so you're just going to have to deal with me, and I'm sorry.
Arceus?
Arceus is the English pronunciation. I looked this up.
Yeah. Why don't you want to say it like that?
Because I've always said it's Arceus, and that's how they pronounce it in Japan. The reason they don't, it's because it sounds a little too much like arse.
Oh, well.
You don't want to call the god of Pokemon an arse.
Okay.
But I don't think of it like that because, we're, Americans, and that's not usually how we say it. But that's why the English translation is Arceus.
Boy, that's a tricky, do you stick with the original?
Yeah.
Or do you just try to stick with, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's the trouble I'm having, but I've always called it Arceus, and that's stuck in my head, so
okay.
I'm probably going to go back and forth. Bear with me. So what do you know about this game? What do you think happens?
I know that there's Pokemon in it.
Yes.
My son has played. We got this game a while ago, and you're like, hey, you don't get to play, because eventually you will on the podcast. And I had to...
I felt mean. I felt so mean.
You know what the meanest part was? We get this game, you and our son are enjoying it, and my son would be like, oh, this is so cool, and I'm trying not to look at the screen, and he'd be like, Mom, look, and then flash it for a second, and then pull away, where I just get a half-second view of something or a cool Pokemon, and then I get nothing, and I'm trying to play Dark Souls that I don't even want to play. I'm not even enjoying it, and there's this cool new Pokemon game that I want to see the Pokemon, and I can't. So I'm very happy that you're doing this one next. Thank you. That's very nice of you. I have waited very patiently.
I almost had a moment where I was like, oh, you know what'll be fun? Because we both haven't played this game yet. Maybe I should make you play the game first and talk me into playing it. But I was like, I'm trying to make you play Dark Souls. That might be a little mean to hey, play Dark Souls, end this game in preparation for a reverse podcast episode.
Sure.
I was like, no, I'm going to keep it simple. I'll just don't play it. I promise you're going to get to play it at some point. And it's happening. It's happening for real.
I love Pokemon games.
Yes.
The, Pokemon
Shield. Yep.
Sword and Shield. I really, really loved that one. I started with Pokemon Red way back in the day and have played off and on different ones. And then you've also given me a chance to play ones that I didn't have access to when I was younger. And this last one, Sword and Shield, was just fantastic. I personally felt like they took a lot of elements from past Pokemon games and combined them in a really fun way and in a good way where something wasn't useless. Everything was useful. There was a purpose to everything. It was so much fun. And then there was just the way that you walk around the land and catch Pokemon. I'm excited to try this one out because it's supposed to be a little bit different, right?
Yeah, one of the things that it was really praised for was kind of the overhaul of the basic system. Because I will say this, as of this recording, Sword and Shield is definitely the best version of the baseline Pokemon game. I really feel like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm a sucker for that original 150 Kanto region.
Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
What was the Game Boy Advance? The Fire Red and Leaf Green. Love those. Ideal.
There was just, in Sword and Shield, they added some fun stuff. And now, back then, not everybody had internet and things like that. And you had to, connect the cables with your Game Boys.
Bring your cables with your Game Boy so you can get the Machamp.
Being able in this day and age to just trade over your home Wi-Fi random Pokemon with random people, and you get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you get a stupid Pokemon. But you know what? There's a chance that you get really lucky, and you can fill out that whole Pokedex.
Yes.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's... there's something... So nostalgic and just hitting that right spot for Pokemon. That's just so much fun. And it's funny because we talked about RPGs during Super Mario RPG, and like Pokemon is a hardcore RPG.
I know. Back in the day, I was like, RPGs suck. Why would, and you looked at me
Pokemon.
And you're like, you play Pokemon and that's an RPG. And I said, no, it's not. And you had to like, yeah, that's pretty much the reaction you had there. You were baffled. You were like, what are you talking about? You had to explain it to me. It's not all just, standing in a line and taking turns attacking.
No, it's just standing on one side of the field and the other side of the field with one Pokemon apiece. Like, it's even worse.
But I love it so much.
And eventually you run out of attacks and hurt yourself.
Just like a real RPG.
Yeah, right.
Yep. That was so funny. I was baffled. I was like,
goodness.
What? Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I think the what makes Pokemon so much fun and the difference is the fact that your party that you carry around with you you have so many things to choose from. It isn't like you have, just 4 characters and maybe like 12 classes, depending on whatever you're playing. It's that you have all these unique Pokemon, so you really can pick like a battle pet, essentially, that you like. You can pick a cute one, and it can be a viable option, or you can pick the like crazy, badass, giant bug with a cannon on its back. Like, go for it.
It is. There's a huge variety, and depending on what you gravitate towards, you can make a team around that. You can have, 6 different things. 6 leaf Pokemon, 6 psychic Pokemon, because those are your favorite. You can have half electric, half water, just to screw everybody over.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is probably the biggest difference, and that's why it didn't feel like a, quotations, boring RPG to me, because there's a lot more freedom in it that way.
Yeah, I have done.
It's a good point to make.
Pokemon games, I had a fun thing where all my Pokemon were at least, I think if I remember right, was it fire? No. It was they were all grass / another type.
Oh, okay.
So they were all, because I think that was just easier to find in that game. So every Pokemon had a similar type and another type, and that was kind of interesting. It's like, yeah, I'm a grass Pokemon trainer, and I'm running through. Yeah, let's go over some basic info on the game here. Let's let you know what's going on. The game was released January 28th of 2022 on the Switch. It is a Switch exclusive. So if you don't have a Switch, I apologize, but that's the only place you can get it. Obviously published by Nintendo and developed by Game Freak. They've had
Pokemon always, right?
Yeah, Game Freak's been doing Pokemon and been working with Nintendo exclusively since forever. So, like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just made by Nintendo. And it's like, sort of. They've been publishing it, but, like, it works. And it's a good relationship that they have. Currently, it has a Metacritic score of 83.
That's pretty good.
Which is, pretty good for a Pokemon game. As of March, the end of March in 2022, the game has sold 12.64 million copies.
All right.
Nintendo reported the game sold 6.5 million copies worldwide within a week of release. So that first week, they sold half of those copies.
Wow.
It really sold a lot quicker than even Sword and Shield. Like, it outpaced the Legends. Arceus outpaced Sword and Shield for that first week. And I think it was because they were really touting it. It's something different than your normal, Pokemon game. As of September of 2022, this year, it is the 3rd best selling game of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Can you guess the first one?
Elden Ring. Duh.
God
dang! Why did that take me so long?
Now guess what the second one is. You won't guess the second one.
Oh, really?
Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is in second.
Okay, well, you know what? Sometimes those Lego games can be really fun.
They are really fun. They're such a good family game and good for kids. I haven't played that particular one, and I do hear it is really good.
I'm sure it's fun.
Those Lego games, they've really come a long way. They are just fun to screw around with.
Back in the day on the N64, I had a Lego racer game where you could build your own Lego car to race in races. That game was fun as hell.
Yep.
That, I mean...
Rocking the wagon wheels.
It was really, really fun. And I think that's a good example of, like, kind of an underrated game that not a lot of people probably played. But if you did, you loved it. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
So they started off decent with, like, little odd things like that. And then now they've gotten to the point where they're doing all these Star Wars and Marvel games and Harry Potter too.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the Avengers and Marvel and Batman, and like they get
so many.
They literally get to make like any franchise that they have as a video game because it's Lego. So like it's kind of wild how Lego just has
kind of own the world when it comes to IPs. It's a little bit scary if you start thinking about it all.
I do want to say for that list of third place for Pokemon Legends is that number excludes the digital sales of this game.
Oh, cool.
So this is only physical copies. So in a sense, it could be in second place. We just don't know. And it's hard because I was really trying to look up, but gaming companies and publishers are very particular about when they release sales data and how much you put. You'd think in this day and age, you could just go on their website and they're like, yeah, we've sold this many so far. Yeah. But I think they like to wait it out because, sometimes high sales can push more sales, but low early sales could hold you back. So I think they're very careful about when they announce that kind of stuff. And yeah, this game has just generally been applauded for like the overhaul of the baseline Pokemon mechanics and kind of picked on for its graphics. A lot of people picked on it because like people kept comparing it to like Breath of the Wild. And if you go and play Breath of the Wild, it's kind of cell shady, but it's very beautiful out there. The grass flows.
From what I've seen, because I barely played Breath of the Wild, actually. I just didn't get a chance because you and our son were playing it.
Yep.
Which I would like to revisit that someday because I love Zelda games. It's a little unfair.
Maybe I should just make you do it.
Yeah, then I have a reason and an excuse. But... that one is probably, in my opinion, the most beautiful Switch game I have seen, graphics-wise.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch isn't really about beautiful graphics like the Xbox and the PlayStation are. I think it's a little bit petty to be like, hey, this game doesn't look as good. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, there's a part of it. Nintendo's always marched to their own beat.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of their games aren't catering to realism in their, in their graphics.
I have heard the recent Xenoblade Chronicles games have looked real. Their overworld's beautiful.
I mean, you're not going to make Kirby a realistic
and that's the thing. But even Kirby looks, honestly, the latest Kirby game does look good. It's really about how do you use the hardware in a way to make something feel the way you want to. Because it doesn't have to be... I can get the most polygons. I can get the highest resolution. Like, those things help generally, but it doesn't make a good game, A. And B, just because something looks super real doesn't mean it actually looks great. Sometimes that hyper-realism can detract from the game in rare cases. So I don't know. When I played this game, I wasn't bothered by how it looked at all. I understand what people are saying. Like, you play Breath of the Wild, there's grass that's flowing in the wind and the trees look great. But, like, it's such a different kind of game. I don't know why people have to get so upset about that sometimes.
What game was it that we were talking about where I mentioned that the graphics were kind of perfect? Like, it was realistic, but not overly realistic, where it was hard to find what you needed to do or what was important or not. I mean, sometimes there's a balance there, and I think that's kind of what you're saying, is that it doesn't help the game to necessarily look better in this situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can take away from it and actually make it less enjoyable.
Yeah.
Or you think things are important when they're not, or,
or you can go and play a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 where, like, hyper-realism is a big selling point, and that's great. It looks amazing, and because of the kind of game it is, it works. So you really got to balance your graphics with what kind of game you're trying to play.
You feel like a real cowboy.
The experience you're trying to give people, and that's the most important thing. And I do feel like this one gives a very good experience. my only main fault with this, and part of this is my fault because I said that Dark Souls got its hooks in me and I'm close to beating the game, and I really wanted to like get in there and get those last bosses, and I haven't played it as much as I would normally. I think
you're fucking wild to want to play Dark Souls more than Pokemon.
Yeah,
that is the craziest statement.
The reason is, and I'm going to say this, the reason is this game is a very kind of slow starter. To be honest, most Pokemon games are pretty slow starters. They're kind of teaching you the basic mechanics and how things are going. And it kind of takes a while to really get into it. And even like when I feel like I finally started getting into the world and things were happening, I realized like I just unlocked like the next area I can go into, the second big area I can go into. And now I'm starting to feel like I'm really opening up the game for real. And it's funny because like the hard part about these open world games is like, okay, I want to collect stuff. I want to explore every nook and cranny. I want to see where you're hearing our wonderful puppy Anka's collar as she scratches herself.
Scritches and scratches.
Yeah. So I think that's more of a me thing because I have to explore everything than it is that a testament to the gameplay itself. I do want to talk about the overhaul for the system. You have to be careful of Pokemon attacks in this game. If an enemy Pokemon that you see out in the wild sees you and wants to attack you, you got to avoid those attacks because you can get knocked out yourself personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you have a dodge roll. You got to dodge out of the way sometimes. But
that's fine. Does it take 20 seconds? Oh, cool. I'm sorry.
She's trying to get a rise out of me.
I can't get the sassiness about Dark Souls out of my system.
That's okay.
I need some peace.
That's why we have this palette. So yeah, you go out and like the first area you get to, it's like these big, beautiful rolling fields, some little like small mountains, rivers,
and the Pokemon are running around.
Yeah, they're just running around. So cool. Like you'll find water Pokemon, near the water on the beach.
Sure.
You find Bidoofs rolling around everywhere.
Our son is caught that's one moment that he showed me. He's like, look at all the Pokemon I have. It's like 20 Bidoofs.
And that's part of the game. Like you are filling out like essentially the first Pokedex. Like that's your job, right? It becomes your job. And part of that job is like you got to catch 25 Bidoofs.
Oh, really? They want you to catch that many? Okay.
Yeah, so like they're learning about like in
well then dang, he was rocking it.
Yeah, because you're kind of like you're in the past. This isn't like current Pokemon times. This is like the beginning of modern quotation marks modern Pokemon culture, and they don't know anything. They're scared of them. These Pokemon shoot lightning. They breathe fire. They freaking
that's a cool perspective.
Shoot water that destroys rocks. So people are actually afraid of Pokemon, and rightfully so, because these creatures are just frightening. So you're part of this Team Galaxy, and they want you to go out, catch as many Bidoof as you can. But then you also, you get a Bidoof, you want to evolve a few Bidoofs, and you want to see Bidoofs use a certain move so many times.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So, there's this very big, grindy part of the game where, you're just trying to use the same move from your Pokemon because you want to, max out its, its Pokedex entry, essentially. And doing that unlocks you star ranks in Team Galaxy. And that's like badges, equivalent of badges in this game.
Okay. As
you rank up, Pokemon levels so high and higher or lower will listen to you, So when you catch a new high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you
gotcha.
Yeah, you catch a low level Pokemon, odds are they're friendly with you. They're going to keep listening to you. But if you want to catch a new higher level Pokemon, well, they're not going to
kick your ass.
Yeah, they might not do what you want them to do. And that's always been a part of Pokemon, but a lot of people forget because usually you're leveling them up as you go and you're sticking with your starter and your starter loves you because they're being nice. There's also, you can craft your own Pokeballs. So you run around, you see mining points and you throw one of your Pokemon at a mining point, they break the rock, you get some pieces.
Oh, I love it.
You find the berry trees, you throw a Pokemon at the tree and it harvests the tree. And so I got to see what new things I can find and eventually unlock new recipes and new things I can make. Mm-hmm. And that part of it is really fun. I think they they really made the flow between the different parts of the game really smooth. Because, for example, you're running around the world.
You're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I see a mining point. I throw one of my Pokemon at the mining point.
Mm-hmm.
I see some tall grass. I go and hide in it, and I sneak up to these little not Bidoofs. We'll say weasels, the water weasels, right?
Okay.
I throw a Pokemon from the weeds. I catch one. I try to catch another one. He breaks out. He sees me. He's pissed off. Okay. I switch from throwing items to throwing my Pokemon. Throw out my Pokemon. I'm right in the battle immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then I fight this weasel. I can kill it or knock it out. Excuse me. Knock it out or catch it. And then battle's over. I'm right back where I started. Oh, I see a berry tree. I'm going to go over there and crack. Like, it flows so quickly between those things that it's nice. And I really appreciate that over the baseline game. Because sometimes you're walking through tall grass. Random battle. Or yeah, exactly. It's pixelated. Yep. You can hear the music in your head. Yeah. But all this is like, it's so quick and smooth moving between the different things that it's much faster paced, which is good because the world is bigger and there's more to explore. So they were very smart about, you get so much more of that open world Pokemon feel, but you're not constantly stopped and taken out of it. You're constantly in it, which I think is a huge boon to this game. Like, if people have had trouble getting into Pokemon before, this is the one you want to play.
I don't know
or even
who that would be.
This is, yeah, well, yeah, we've been
a person that doesn't like Pokemon. Oh my gosh, I'm so stoked. Let's go play.
I know. I'm happy that you're excited.
Woo!
You also have to be careful of alpha Pokemon out in the wild.
Alphas.
Yeah, so
They have
basically...
alphas and betas in this game?
Well, no betas. No beta Pokemon. There's just...
Those are the Bidoofs.
Alphas are just usually really huge, and they got these glowing red eyes, and they're really tough. So sometimes you're like, I'm going to avoid this one until I get my Pokemon leveled up and I can fight them. There is a chance that you can catch them on the first try, but odds are low.
That's tempting.
And that's the thing. If you really want to just like throw Pokeballs, you don't even have to get into battles. You throw Pokeballs, your Pokemons get experience every Pokemon you catch. All your Pokemon get experience every time you fight a battle.
What happens when you do get knocked out yourself?
I think you wake up at camp and you lose all the items in your satchel.
Okay.
Or some of them. And then I think you can go retrieve them. So they have this fun little mechanic where you'll find other people's bags of people who've gotten knocked out.
Oh, sweet.
And you return them to them. You get a special currency that you can use in a special shop for items. Oh, cool. So, like, doing a good deed and returning people's items means you get...
Not just ransacking
their
stuff.
That's Dark Souls. You would ransack their stuff. Pokemon's nice. You return it and we'll give you merit points and you can buy stuff. Yeah. There's also a fun little thing as Pokemon Master moves. You can do a strong version or a fast version.
Oh, cool.
So Pokemon speed is much more important. So if you do an agile version of a move, you'll do it faster, but it won't hit as hard, but you might get a second attack right after it.
Oh, okay.
If you do a strong one, it will slow down your next turn. So, Child of Light, how the turn order can happen? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. You can see the turn order, like, it's me, it's them, it's me, it's them. I do agile, it'll switch, and you can see, I'll get 2 turns in a row if I do agile. Okay. Or if I do strong, I'll have to wait out 2. And so it's just this little, tiny little twist to the format, which can really help you out. And you can always, like, craft potions out in the wild, so you always can stay healed up. There's a lot of things to love about the speed and like the usefulness of things in this game.
I like that the agile or the harder hit. It's kind of building off of really established things about the stats in the past. Mm-hmm. I do think it's cool that you're taking your stats of your Pokemon and like actually making it more useful now than what they have in the past. Yeah. There was some where they had some little gimmicks on those in the past, but I like this way of it being actually helpful in battle visually and
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like you have a little bit more control.
Are you talking about like the little training things?
Yeah, that's right. You could train your Pokemon.
That what was that?
I can't remember which one that was.
EV points or IV points.
Yeah.
I always forget. But basically, it's if you train your Pokemon to be better at attack, like you will have a higher attack stat and you'll gain more per level. And they have that in this game, and it's a super simple mechanic. You find this stuff called grit dust, grit gravel, grit stones, and you can just pick which one you want. So like grit dust gives you up to a +3 per like whatever stat you put it into. So I was using it on my starter Pokemon, and I watched my health go up as I increased it up to like 5, I think I finally did. So now my main Pokemon, my main fighter, has more health. Very useful.
Just feeding your Pokemon dust.
Yeah, I know. It's the embodiment of hard work, and you just shove it down your throat.
Shove it down your throat.
And this is the part I feel bad about, that I feel like there might be some things I missed out on because I didn't get a little bit further, but I really feel like this is the base what you need to know.
Sure.
This game is fun. It's fast paced. You get a mount eventually, so I'm riding around on this old what did they call it? Like a Stantler.
Yeah,
you know,
that's cool.
This like, and the people like respect him, like all the tribes that are out
Heck
here.
yeah.
You know, he's like this guardian of the area. So as you go to more areas, I think you unlock more mounts. You can eventually swim. You can eventually even fly. I think there's just a lot more potential the further you get in the game, and it'll be exciting to see what happens. So
let's do it. Let's go.
So I guess that's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Super excited.
All right, she's peeing her pants. I can't keep her here any longer.
Not really.
So we'll stop right here, and we'll see you guys in a little bit. Hello, and welcome back. So we've had a good couple weeks to really dig into this game.
I dug in hard like a tick.
Oh yeah, you were loving it. It was funny, I brought up like, I finally feel like I got far enough that I'm really just ready to hardcore this game, and you were like, not a minute.
I'm already there.
And since it was your time, I was like, it's my fault for playing Dark Souls. You get this time. And I just been like peeking in on you and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Secondhand.
Secondhand gratification.
So how you feeling? What you thinking?
Well, I started it up. You get to pick from 8 different like pre-made characters as usual with Pokemon games. I've played a lot of Pokemon games. I kind of wish at this time, like we've been playing these for 20 years?
Oh, forever, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can we just like make a creation?
A character creator?
Yeah, can we have that, please? I mean, it really doesn't take up that much space, and it would just make it a little bit cooler. Yeah,
I do agree with that. I feel, okay, here's some like 8 pre-made characters. You can change your hair and your clothes later on. That's they've gotten better about that part of it. But in the beginning,
that is really simplistic throughout the game, though. And
I guess it's true.
You have like 10 color choices of one thing, and to me, that's what I mean. It's not adding a lot. I mean, let's take some time and put some thought into making cool things instead of making 10 of one bad thing.
Yeah.
And then another 10 of another bad thing. But that's kind of besides the point. I can get over that. But the game starts out with, it's kind of a wild game.
It is a wild beginning.
You fall from the sky from this...
The space-time portal?
Yes, a space-time portal.
After floating in nothingness and meeting the god of Pokemon, Arceus.
Yeah. There's a Pokemon Professor on a beach wearing a ski hat. And
his hat.
The first thing you can think of is like, why is he wearing a ski hat here? What kind of professor is this? And he convinces you to catch his 3 Pokemon that are running around for him because he's like, I'm really bad at throwing Pokeballs. Could you help me out? Random person that I just saw
12-year-old kid
fall from the sky. You know, it's wild. But you get through it, and then you get to choose your starting Pokemon.
Yes.
I chose Rowlet. I'm a sucker for grass-type Pokemon. He eventually evolves into Dartrix. who has that nice little emo swoop on the one side covering an eye. I appreciate that. And then he eventually evolves into Decidueye, which in this game is a grass fighting Pokemon, which is a cool combination to have. A little bit of a pain in the ass because like I like how they're changing it up and mixing it up. But when you get a Pokemon that has 3 basic styles, flying, grass, and fighting, you don't have enough moves to get all the good stuff you want to get. You know, like it's hard to
pick and choose.
Yeah, it really, really is. Because it's like, okay, you get a team of 6. This is my flying Pokemon. You got to keep a flying move. But it's also going to be my grass Pokemon. Oh, but I can also have these fighting moves. So when something isn't, you know, it's good and bad. Like, I love it and hate it at the same time.
You do get some variety, but having that much variety can seem to bite you in the butt sometimes.
It kind of muddies it up a little bit, but at the same time, it's good to have hard choices to make. It does make the game a little more tricky and a little bit more individualized.
I will say they make changing your moveset for the Pokemon much easier, more fluid. You can do that anywhere at any time.
I loved that about this game.
Isn't that nice?
That is a big improvement in this one. This game overall plays the most different from every other Pokemon game that they've ever made. And that is one of the biggest things. You can change your moveset at any time on your Pokemon, and you can go back to old moves. You can put in new moves. That is fantastic. That is something I wish they would always do for every future Pokemon game.
It does seem like I understand that there was only so much space in the beginning. And I also understand like your Pokemon can only have 4 moves during the battle. But to have to go through the whole rigmarole, what was it? In some games, you have to learn how to forget a move and then go to find another guy, give him an item, and then he can relearn any move he's already learned. Or you have to find the TM or the HM. And it's not the end of the world, but this one streamlines it so much. It's more like, hey, Pokemon, these are the 4 moves I want you to focus on that I can get you to do in battle immediately. And then, like, you don't always need a certain move. Maybe you're doing one for the Pokedex, right? Then you just move on to something else and change it up. No problem.
The biggest thing for me is you'll go out and catch Pokemon and say they're a level 35. You can go back and you haven't, like, if you catch that Pokemon, you can still get moves that they wouldn't know because they were wild. That's the biggest thing. Is the hard part about previous Pokemon games was you had to evolve things at a certain time to get certain moves. You know what I mean? You had to level up a Pokemon to a certain level to teach them all the moves they could possibly learn. And then if you evolve them, then you could go from there. But this eliminates trying to do all this research of, okay, I have this Vulpix. How far up do I need to level him before I use a Firestone to turn it into Vulpix or a Ninetales? I'm sorry.
Because a lot of times the stone evolutions don't get you new moves sometimes.
You will not learn a lot of moves. So it eliminated that, which I really, really love. I appreciate about that. But otherwise, like, continuing on, the tutorials in this game are really long-winded.
I told you it was a slow start.
Yeah, it is a slow start. Even for me who loves Pokemon games, I'm like, oh my goodness. It's pretty obvious that they're trying to cover everything that a totally new person would need to know if they've never played a Pokemon game in their life, which is good. But we discussed this too. It would be nice if there was an option to opt out. Like, nah, I know how to throw a Pokeball. I know what a Pokedex is. Come on, let's go. I want to get moving.
I know how to battle. I know how to catch. I know how to catch a Pokemon in battle. I really do feel like they, at this point, Game Freak should just put in something like, hey, you know, is this your first time learning about Pokemon? Just like early on. Yeah. And then if it's not, they can just teach you about whatever's new in the current game. Like, really streamline the process.
They really could. The beginning of this game, there's just so many cutscenes one after another. And even when you're free for a moment, you literally walk forward a few steps and you're back into another cutscene. It's kind of hard to get through. And you were right. You're like, it's going to be about 2 hours before you get to play. Like, play.
Yeah,
and you were right.
And some people don't really enjoy reading in their video games a lot. And when you get these cutscenes, you're reading.
Well, the dialogue is so silly. The plot points in this game are ridiculous and don't even make sense throughout.
They're super deep and meaningful.
No.
Like every other Pokemon game.
I mean, and the dialogue is just so silly and meaningless, and I think that's why I'm in the boat of cut it out. Like, we don't need this. Nobody wants this.
Yeah.
New players don't want this. I mean, we're not getting emotionally invested in this.
Yeah, we're more emotionally invested in a Pokemon we like if we took the time to nickname them. You know what I mean? Like, if I nickname my Rowlet Hoots, Mr. Hoots, I'm going to love Mr. Hoots till the day that I die. Like, but if you're going to tell me about some crazy space-time continuum portal up above a mountain, I don't care. Mr. Hoots is what it's all about.
Exactly. We're all about Mr. Hoots. The actual gameplay is a lot of fun. This brings in this whole new world of just running around out in the open like Sword and Shield had in a lot of areas, but you can sneak up on Pokemon. You can throw berries to feed them and then just chuck a Pokeball and catch them. And if you're fast enough and there's a group of Pokemon close enough, you can just bam, bam, bam. Ooh, I just caught 3 Pokemon in one fell swoop.
Yeah, just chucking Pokeballs like
I love
freaking Will Ferrell and Elf throwing snowballs. Just
pretty much. If you want to battle them, you can instigate a battle. Once in a while, a Pokemon will run away. It's also kind of fun to see like what Pokemon are super aggressive and come and attack you and what Pokemon aren't.
Yep.
Because a few surprised me what they chose to be aggressive
like
and non-aggressive.
Driffloons?
I fucking hate Driffloons so much. And Drifblims, like, they come out every evening because time goes by. You have day and night cycling through this game. And the freaking Drifblooms come out at night and they attack you constantly and they're everywhere. They were very annoying.
They're actually worse than the Zubats. And like, I still have Zubat. What's the word?
PTSD?
PTSD from freaking Generation 1 in that cave.
Yeah. I know. They made Zubats look good. There were so many of them.
Oh, I know. Them stupid Driftloons. I just want to float away with a kid. Then stop being so angry.
But otherwise, in this environment, there's a lot of resources that you can collect with the help of your Pokemon, and they get experience points for collecting them. You get Tumblestones, which you can use to make Pokeballs. You can collect Iron to make Great Balls and Ultra Balls. You can collect all the berries. There's plants like the Medicinal Leek, which you should recognize as Far-Fetched, his leek.
Oh, yeah, that's his leek for sure. Yep.
Use that to make potions. And I really like that it's not necessarily that you have to buy all your items and make enough money. You can just take some time and farm ingredients and resource material to make everything you need. It does take time to do that. Yeah, especially when you're running around, you end up using some of the things that you're because you're like, oh, I gotta catch this Pokemon.
But like, there's not like a Poke Center in this game that you can just go and take a heal your Pokemon. There's camps you can rest at, yes, but generally when you're running around the world, it's like you're using potions. I've never used potions as often as I have in this game. I've never used as many Pokeballs either, but you throw a lot more because you want to try to catch it before you have to battle it a lot of the time.
Yeah, we kind of breezed over that, but the whole purpose of this game supposedly is that they are making the first Pokedex.
Yes.
So to get information about a Pokemon, you're going to catch them a bunch of times. You're going to battle them a lot.
25 times.
They have a lot of special things like use certain types of move against them. How many times have you fed them? How many times have you evolved them? And once you get 10 research points, you have officially collected all the information that you need on the Pokemon. It sounds like a lot. It actually can go by pretty fast, especially if when you're battling or catching a Pokemon, you do multiple, points. You can look up what you need to do with that Pokemon to get those research points. The
Pokedex will tell you like everything you know about filling it out. Looking through that massive stack of notes.
I got a lot of notes on this game. I was laughing at myself because for the first time I've had to scroll through notes for a game. I had a lot of opinions about it.
But that's exactly what we want to hear.
I'm a pretty hardcore Pokemon game fan, though. I think one of the other things that I pointed out was, we were talking about the resources. I love how there's all the trees around with all the different berries, and it's all the same berries that you're used to. I like how they keep building off of what they've previously done so that it's easy to pick up on. You're going to know what does what. I just appreciate that. As far as things I don't appreciate, you go into the Survey Corps building, and the Survey Corps is what you join. You're going to survey all these Pokemon, right? Because everybody's scared of them.
Team Galaxy.
Yeah. The building is ridiculous. It's this ginormous building with a bunch of doors and hallways, and you can't open the doors. There's nobody in there. Like, there's 2-3 rooms that you go in.
About 3 places you go in.
Yeah, and there's little things like that throughout this game where it's like, hey, Game Freak, like, just scale it down.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care. Why are you making us walk through this for a minute to get to where we need to go all the time? It's a 3-level building.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be that way. There's 1 room on every level that you're going to visit. That's it for the most part. Like, it's little things like this throughout this game that they just slow you down. And I'm sorry, but if you're a person that loves Pokemon, all you care about is going out there and catching Pokemon.
Yeah, and I think that I do agree with you there. I think that's wild that there's, like, even the town and this building, like, there's all this walking around you have to do to get to the simplest things. And they made the motion between combat, catching, collecting, like, so smooth and so quick. Why did you slow down the other things? Or am I just not noticing how slow other games were?
They improved on the collecting, the combat. You can switch through your Pokemon super easily to battle with the one you want to battle in a second, in a moment, so that you have the advantage.
It's so fast.
You can scroll through your items, your Pokeballs, your berries. If you want to, you know what? I want to catch this Pokemon. Wait, I'm going to throw a berry out and try to lure it in first.
Yeah.
Make its catch rate even higher. You can do that super quickly. I love that about this game. But you're right. Everything else feels way slower. And I just kind of think it is. We're used to hitting up the mart and then the Pokemon Center to heal quick.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. In this game, you have so many items. You have an item box, which is good and bad. Yeah. But you go into this Jubilife Village, which is the home base with the Survey Corps building. You have to go to that building for that. You have to go to the item box, which is at the other side of this village, to access your items. If you want to level up the stats of your Pokemon, you have to book it across to the other end of the village. If you want to change out your Pokemon, that's, again, across to the other end of the village. Like, everything is so spread out in a stupid way.
I will say
they very time consuming.
They did add fast travel points in the map.
In Jubilife Village?
Yeah, so you literally can jump over by the garden, jump over by
Okay, but, like, just saying that is so ridiculous.
I know,
the fact that they had to do that is wild. Wouldn't you think in that moment, like, hey, if we have to add fast travel points, maybe this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's this hard part where maybe I had this vision for the village. You don't want to make it seem too small, but you don't want to make it too big. But you're only able to run around so fast, especially in the village. You can't ride your special mount or anything like that. So having fast travel points helps, but it's more like you didn't design the village in a way where you could easily get to everything you need to do, so we have to add this so you can.
There should be a hub for the main things, and that's usually pretty standard in games.
Yes.
And to try to spread it out doesn't entice people to want to explore more. It just kind of pisses people off. Like, you know, by the time you get done doing the business things that you need to do, like, I got to dump off a bunch of items. I need to grab this. I need to get this Pokemon. I want to level this up. Like, by the time you get done doing all of that stuff, you just want to leave and keep going on your adventures. You don't want to explore this village. You're like, I just ran around here for 15 minutes. Get me out of here. But one side note, in the Survey Corps building, that professor with the ski hat, he has his office in there. And I did notice in one cutscene, he has like a job for you to do. Just a little side quest. And you need to solve this problem for him. And he's like, let me think about it. And it shows him looking at his chalkboard that he has. And there's these random drawings up against the chalkboard. There's like a really bad drawing of a Pikachu off to one side. And it just made me laugh so hard. You basically have this science professor that just is an idiot just running the show. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
He's more of that. It's just because he's interested in Pokemon and he wants to learn more than being like a Professor Oak who knows like everything.
He makes Professor Oak look like he really had it all together. That's all. But I mean, there's a lot to do in this game. There's a ton of side quests. Like I said, you can spend time gathering resources for different things that you need. And then they also have the time-space continuums, right?
Oh, yeah, like the special purple spheres that you run into.
Space-time
It's like a
warp.
Space-time warp or something. So basically you go into
a small area in a map will form into a special area, and you can run in there and fight some higher level Pokemon, some unusual Pokemon. There's also a bunch of star pieces and some other random like high value items laying around on the ground, which are always good to collect. That's how you catch a bunch of EVs.
I kept running and seeing Eevee in that first area, and it was like the Togepi you were trying to catch. It ran away as soon as it saw me, and I tried to battle it. It ran away immediately. So I literally had to try to sneak across a field to try to catch it. And I got 2 Pokeballs off on one. Didn't catch it. Super tough, and I was all sad about it.
Very elusive Togepi in the coastal area that I am going to catch it. I really, really want to catch a Togepi. I want a Togetic. Oh my gosh. And then what's the third evolution? Togekiss. I want it. I'm going to get it. I don't care how long it takes me. One time in a Pokemon game, I want a Togekiss.
Yep,
Such a badass Pokemon. I love it. But yeah, I mean, it's super addicting because you never run out of stuff to do, and they don't rush you through the actual gameplay. You can take your time going wherever, filling out the Pokedex more if you want, catching things, looking around, exploring.
There's a lot to explore. The game has a huge open world area, and as you go to new areas and get new mounts that take you through water or run across, or you get a bear Ursalana that can smell treasure and dig it up for you. I don't recommend it because Ursalana moves so damn slow. I don't have any patience for that. Oh, really?
No,
yeah.
I can't.
And I know...
I just can't.
I do know there's 2 more mounts. One that helps you climb and one that'll fly eventually. Which will really put to shame the swimming and the running one when you can just fly places.
You know what? You need the flying one because there's one thing I got to complain about there too.
Okay.
This open world, getting around this world is a freaking nightmare. Before you have a mount, your character can't go up the smallest hill. Like, my dog wouldn't even notice that hill, and your character's like, I
can fall up this hill in real life.
It's horrible. It really is slow moving around until you get mounts, and it's a little bit torturous. And then even when you do, a cool thing about the way they designed this was I can see how our old Pokemon games, like in Pokemon Red, you have that topography look of elevated areas, right? And in this map, you have all these super elevated areas everywhere.
Yes.
It's like it came to life in 3D, right? Yep. But you can't freaking reach any of them. Or it takes forever. You're on your Wide-Ear just like jumping forever trying to get on this ledge, and you can't, and then finally you do, just to get a stupid Vivichoke one, and you're like, I just wasted 5 minutes getting up here. It's so
channeling Skyrim, climbing up the mountain with a horse. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
I'm like, I can climb this mountain as long as I keep trying.
If you keep jumping, hopefully you land in a spot that gets you a little further up. That's exactly what it's like.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just things like this that it's like, why did you slow this game down like that? Why?
I think it was more about just trying to cordon off areas you shouldn't quite be. And if you're willing to be stubborn enough, which when it comes to exploring areas, you and me definitely tend to be, yeah, you can get there. But is the reward going to be great? I don't know. The coolest thing I found is like them King Lucky Leaves, and I don't know what those do.
They help you make is it a max potion, I believe?
Oh,
where it's
really?
a full full max HP amount.
Oh, okay. I haven't got that
Yes.
recipe yet, so.
I have. I've been playing this game super hard.
You're way farther than me.
I know I'm a little over halfway. I actually haven't finished it, even though I've put in a ton of time. But it's like I said, it's because you kind of get distracted filling out things. You can rank up in the Survey Corps, and that means that instead of getting badges and having, well, now level 40 Pokemon obey you, now level 50, you need to rank up in the Survey Corps. You need to fill out that Pokedex. And I've also been kind of proud of myself. Every time I check, I'm within a range of 10 every time. It's like how many Pokemon you've seen versus how many you catch.
You're keeping right up with it.
Keeping up with it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a good Pokemon player. If I have anything to be proud of in my gaming life, it's I play Pokemon real good.
Yeah, you do, for sure.
It's not that impressive, but
I mean, especially probably in the more recent years, I think you did better than me in Sword and Shield. And
Sword and Shield, I love that one. So, I mean, overall, I think I still like Sword and Shield more. I like the gameplay in this one. I like a lot of the streamlining that they did.
Oh, really? Okay.
I do, but if I'm going to be honest, overall, I think I enjoyed Sword and Shield more. I was going to boot that up and actually take a look at it.
Oh, yeah, but you've just been so focused.
I haven't had a chance because... like, walking around in this world, I really see that they did not take a lot of time in making this visually, what's the word? Fun to look at?
I think it's okay. My first thought is when it comes to open world games in general, a lot of times developers have trouble filling the space. Because if you make everything so condensed and full and cool, then like it's very hard to make a big area because you want it to feel expansive. So there's this trouble where Pokemon, other than some of the Pokemon running around and the few places you can collect items, it kind of feels empty in between. But on the other hand, it's supposed to be this unexplored wilderness, right?
I wouldn't say that it feels empty because... there's Pokemon everywhere. And I mean, a lot of the time they're reusing Pokemon in every area.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to expand too much on that. There's the grass and the trees, but there's also all the materials. I mean, there really are different materials that you can use to make stuff. A lot of different stuff everywhere, all the time. You don't move to a spot on that map without there being something useful around.
Yeah.
And it's not even the materials themselves. It's just the little things, the way the trees look, the way things look in the distance is the biggest thing for me. If you see a flying Pokemon flapping its wings, it is super janky, just slow motion, like up, glitch, down, up, glitch, down.
Yeah.
Like it's bad. And I get that it takes a lot, but I think we can pretty honestly say that Nintendo has not valued the looks of their games as much as other companies.
Okay, first of all, Game Freak developed this.
I should say Game Freak.
Yes, because
it's pretty obvious that Game Freak is not concerned about it, but I feel like they should be because there's a lot of games that put time and effort into the visual aspects of their game, and people freaking go nuts for it.
I want to take this second just for comparison.
Sure.
Now, you haven't played Breath of the Wild as much, and that's usually the comparison people make.
Yes.
It's a big open world, but it doesn't feel empty at all.
I do remember it looking a lot better.
Yes, but also like Super Mario Odyssey, it has these big, huge maps, right? Does anything feel not full? Like, do you ever run around in Super Mario and not feel like there's something going on, there's something interesting to look at, there's something happening?
It doesn't feel devoid of things. It feels full. Super Mario, and I will say that also you don't get that weird glitchiness of things in the distance coming in and out or being slowed down. Super Mario Odyssey is a different style of game, but it still doesn't feel as janky as this one. And isn't that funny?
That's that funny thing. Nintendo is very notorious about polishing their in-house games.
Sure.
Whether you like them or not, they generally make sure it's the best version of that particular product. Game Freak has been known for slacking on the graphics side of things. I'm not saying like the combat's fun. I like the new strong versus agile style, which will give you a little more play in battles. That's an interesting thing.
Real quick to explain that, like now with your Pokemon moves, once they've mastered their moves, which just takes time.
Yep.
As they level up, you can choose to do a strong move or an agile move if you want, and that takes 2 PP instead of 1. An agile move will up their speed, and you might get a chance to take 2 turns in a row. A strong move is going to really bump up the power. You won't move as fast, and you might have to wait for 2 turns to get your next one.
Yes.
But you will hit them like a freight train.
Yes.
So that's another like really fun addition that I love to this game.
That. Oh man. Yeah, it's just I think they focus so much on making the combat balanced and fun. And not that there aren't ways to do some crazy things. I've seen some people do crazy things with Pokemon teams in the past in other games. But that seems to be their focus, is that combat, the sole combat mechanic. And I really think they should just... I'm not saying it has to look like a 360 game or something like that.
But it doesn't. Like, what are they focusing on so much? I mean, really, they've made some changes with this one, but really it hasn't changed hardly at all since we've played Pokemon Red years and years ago. I think the other thing to say is there were moments when I was running around and, like, Pokemon would glitch and they're on a ledge, and then all of a sudden they're just floating in the air when you're battling them. Oh, really? Yes. I actually ran into that a couple of times. Or the game would glitch. You throw your Pokemon out to battle, and you're standing right next to them, and they're like, you're too far away, battle ended. And I'm right there. Yeah. And it would do that over and over again. Interesting. So I really do think it's a problem with on the open world aspect, they're not taking the time. And I wish they would, because... people that love Pokemon would so much enjoy a beautiful open world, just like all the other games get to have. Skyrim, Red Dead Redemption, Dark Souls, and Elder Scrolls. Like, people would go nuts for that.
There's 100% an amazing amount of potential. And I don't want to just beat on Game Freak because of their graphics, because they have made some really good games. I do believe, though, at this point that maybe it's time to take some of this criticism that they keep getting over and over that's making them lose some of their player base.
Yeah, at some point you have to accept, if the world keeps telling me, maybe it is me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I don't know.
Just to stay competitive with what else is going on.
And I know it's really hard to make a game. There's a lot that goes into it. And generally, like, I haven't ran into any of those glitches in other Pokemon games. I haven't ran into any. It's generally a solid version.
I never experienced that in Sword and Shield, but like I said, the topography of these worlds is such that there's a lot of levels all the time. There's a lot of steps in different areas, and that's what's catching them right there. There's so many little hills and mounds and everything that, in a battle in that moment between you throwing that Pokemon ball out and a Pokemon moving, it gets messed up there. And that's understandable, right? And does it wreck the game? No, it does not make me hate it.
I mean, look at Bethesda and Skyrim. Buggy. Their games are known to come out buggy as hell. But it's a lot going on.
But it looks
There's a lot
cool,
happening.
At least.
And, like, people joke about it, but people still love those games so much.
I mean, and... I do want to say that. I still really, really enjoyed this game. I played the hell out of it, and I still want to keep playing it. It's going to be hard to get you to make me play a different game, honestly, because I haven't beat this yet. I got a lot to do. I got to get that Togekiss. Yeah, I don't know. I really love and appreciate some of the changes they made to the battling and the gameplay that way. The music and the graphics are just underwhelming. The music in this one kind of sucked and was disappointing to me. In Sword and Shield, when you go into those arenas and you battle, that pump-up music gets me pumped. Oh, the crowd's like cheering.
Dubstep,
I
EDM.
Love it. Yeah. And in this one, I would turn it up once in a while just to check it out, and it was kind of atrocious to me. Like, I'm like, nah, I can play this on mute. Yeah. I check it every once in a while just to make sure, but yeah, after Sword and Shield, even that was a little bit underwhelming. The menus on this game are kind of ridiculous too. There are like 3 different main menus, and it's switch back and forth between them constantly is annoying as shit. I gotta say that too. So yeah, I mean, I like it. I think they did some good things with it that I hope that they continue on and keep for the rest of the Pokemon games in the future.
Yes.
I want some of these things to stay. Yes. There were some things I really didn't like, though.
Could I ask you, do you feel like someone who's never played a Pokemon game, do you feel like this would be a good onboarding game into the franchise, or would you suggest like Sword and Shield more?
I would suggest Sword and Shield, actually. I think Arceus has some cool things, but the beginning is the slowest beginning in a Pokemon game I think I've ever experienced. And a new player, I don't think they're going to wade through that just to play. And then when they do get out in the open world, it's going to be a little overwhelming. Sword and Shield, I would suggest, actually.
Okay.
I think that would be a lot easier to get on board. They explain things better without dragging you down constantly. You can kind of figure things out, go at your own pace.
I mean, I guess my personal feelings is I feel like this or Sword and Shield would be a good onboarding game.
I wouldn't suggest this to a person because it's so slow.
The only reason is like, I agree with you. The beginning's slow. That's very difficult for someone who's never played a game to get into. Though if someone who's never played it, it might not feel as bad as it does to you and me.
I don't know, because a lot of that was just unnecessary dialogue.
Yeah, and that's...
I think you gotta remember, like, a lot of those cutscenes in the beginning were absolutely pointless.
Yeah. I just think that the faster pace of jumping into a battle and just being able to catch Pokemon might...
Hook
someone better. Like, the idea of just being able to sneak up on a Pokemon and throw a Pokeball, as opposed to you have to get into a battle and not kill the Pokemon and catch them.
Yep.
To do it. That's the old school way, and you can still do that in the Legends Arceus.
Yep.
But the thought of like, hey, I see a cool Pokemon, chuck a Pokeball, maybe you're going to get lucky, you got yourself a new Pokemon, just like that. I feel like the speed of that and the ability to try
expand
to catch
quickly.
Yes, like I
get that.
It was like an alpha. What's Bidoofs evolved form? And I'm forgetting.
Gosh, I know it too.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Seeing all these little sweet Bidoofs roaming around, waddling around the area is like so heartwarming.
Yeah, I love Bidoofs, and they don't care. But I saw his evolved forms. Alpha was running around, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give it a shot. I threw a Pokeball. And
you caught the alpha?
I caught an alpha without battling it. I'm like, yes. Like, I was so excited about it.
What a cheater.
Yeah. I was like, I don't really feel like battling you right now. I'm just going to catch you. And it worked out. I can't complain.
Oh, man. That is another cool part about this game. There are alpha Pokemon roaming around that
are huge.
Are extra huge, extra tough, and extra aggressive. Mm-hmm. They see you, and
they will chase you down and take you and your family out.
Yep. But it was a great way for me, like, you know, I will say, every Pokemon game that comes out, you get so excited to see what order you will see new Pokemon in. And I got to give a shout out to this. I feel like you get a better variety of Pokemon early on than what you do in a lot of games.
You can find, like, you find a Ponyta, you get a fire type.
Oh my gosh.
Which is usually the hardest to find.
First area you go to, you can catch a Ponyta, and I got a Rapid Dash that is tall and beautiful and just so fiery. And I caught a Vulpix. Like, it's nice to be able to catch a lot of Pokemon that you used to have to wait until the end of the game, and by then you were already too invested in other Pokemon to even enjoy using them most of the time.
I agree with that.
There's a better variety overall in this game.
In each area, which is very nice. I like that.
Yes. It's not dedicated to just water Pokemon here, electric Pokemon there. Yep. It's all mixed together.
It's all about, you go by the water, you're going to find water Pokemon. You go into the woods, you're probably going to find more bugs, you know.
Yeah.
It is so nice that you can run around this whole first area and you can feel like you get a decent starting team to get used to something.
A variety.
And then you might find one of your favorite Pokemon in the next area. You never know. And that's exciting. I do want to touch on the Guardian Pokemon.
Yeah, sure.
So some of your mounts are actually Guardian Pokemon.
Yep. Let's see here.
And some of the bosses.
So, ironically, you kind of end up not really battling them, but it's basically, that time portal in the sky zapped them with a weird light, and this Wydeer.
They're overcharged.
My lord, the Wydeer is frantic with rage. Yeah. And so you're going to throw bombs at it to try to settle it down, some medicine. And the first one is a Wydeer. And then once you do that, you get to use him as a mount to gallop across the lands and jump to some higher places. Well, you don't fight
Wydeer. He just likes bombs you.
At. Oh, no, you're right. Yep. It's the evolved form of Scyther. What's it called? Oh, I forgot now.
Gosh.
That's the first one.
I can't believe I forgot. Basically, they have all these new, Guardian Pokemon are new evolutions exclusive to this game. So the Stantler has a new evolution into Wydeer.
Yep.
The Scyther has a new evolution to, instead of blades on his arm, he has axes and he chops down trees. He's like ground bug, and there's just a bunch of them, which is very interesting to see what they did.
The next mount you get is Ursulana, which is the big bear.
Oh, okay.
Evolved from Teddy Ursa.
Yep.
And Ursulana, like I said, is really slow, but has quite a nose, so they can actually smell things hidden in the ground and dig it up for you. And then you get a Basculegion. It's hard to say, but that's a Basculin that is huger with a saddle on it, a giant fish in the water that you can ride and jump through the air. That's pretty fun. You can jump with your fish in the air and throw Pokeballs at other fish Pokemon, water Pokemon, catch them while you're just riding your fish in the sky. It's pretty wild, but it's fun.
I think it's just exciting. It reminds me of even the starter Pokemon. They all start out the same, but their final evolution is different. Dartrix is, like you said, Decidueye.
Fighting grass.
Becomes fighting grass instead of fighting flying or grass flying like he is normally. You also get a Cyndaquil, which evolves eventually into a Typhlosion, and it becomes Ghost Fire Pokemon.
And then the Oshawott.
Oh yeah, Oshawott
his
becomes Water Dart.
Third evolution form actually looks badass in this game.
Samurott. Yep.
Yeah.
See, I've always was kind of sad that they made Samurott a four-legged creature instead of keep him bipedal and have a super cool shell that he uses. And so I was always a little disappointed, but how cool they designed him with the black and red cool shell armor. I'm
pretty badass.
I usually go towards water Pokemon, and now I kind of wish I did. I also went with Decidueye.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I picked mine, and then I asked you what you picked, and I was surprised that you picked
because he
Rowlet.
turns into a Robin Hood type bird creature, and I'm like, that'll be sweet. I'll be shooting arrows, and then he turns into a grass fighting, and I was like, oh man, the whole point I picked him is different.
But Rowlet's so cute, and I said, I'm
Rowlet.
a sucker for
Mr.
grass.
Hoots.
Is that what you named him?
I should have. I really wish I did.
I think he did. I'm gonna have to
change
check
his name. Is there
So I guess my overall rating, I'd give a 7 out of 10 on this one.
Just a 7, huh?
Yeah.
You played it pretty hardcore for a 7 out of 10.
I love it, but I honestly don't think I can give it an 8 out of 10. There's a lot of annoying things, and I think for a new player, it wouldn't hit that hard. I don't think it's the best Pokemon ever made, that's for sure. I put Sword and Shield above this one. There are definitely better aspects, but those are small, right? You can't judge a whole game on a few good things that they did. Overall, I'm saying Sword and Shield is better. I give Sword and Shield a higher rating. Sword and Shield was almost perfection to me. I thought that was such a good Pokemon game. This one's good. I like the changes they made in some ways, but it feels lazy in a lot of areas, and that's why I'm giving it a 7 for me. Am I going to play it again? Probably not, But you know what? I think about restarting my Sword and Shield all the way over, and I have Pokemon over level 100 on that game. I played the absolute living hell out of that game.
You know, I guess I haven't gotten as far as you in Legends. I think what my main hope is, and what I experienced, there's things I really love about this compared to regular Pokemon. And like you, I've been playing regular Pokemon since God knows when, right? Yep. Since I was riding the school bus to school on my Game Boy Color. I really hope they keep the Pokemon Legends at least a side franchise that they keep improving.
I do enjoy it. I would think play another one. It
really, really good, and I hope they do another one. I really, really hope so, because you have such a different variation on such a beloved and long-running franchise, and to have something different than just the thing I've been playing since my Game Boy Color is nice.
I mean, it's always fun, but it is surprising to me when I think about it how long we've been playing the same basic game for like 20 years. That's kind of wild.
Like, hard take. Like, every new mainline Pokemon is pretty much the same game
as the last
one new thing that
there
they
might be some
tend to throw away the next time round, which makes me super sad. But that's a different discussion for another time.
So maybe. It's nice to have this switch up on it.
A much fresher take, right?
And it's a lot of fun in that way. Is it the best Pokemon game ever made? No.
What's your favorite thing about this? Or who's your favorite Pokemon so far? Let's start with that.
Ooh. You know what? I gotta say, I have a Ninetales, and I love my Ninetales, and I love my Rapidash. But you know what? I have a Luxray, and that boy comes in clutch so much. My Luxray, using Thunder Wave to paralyze some Pokemon. He has his Crunch, which is a dark move. He's a beefy boy. Luxray is a big, beefy electric kitty cat, and he looks pretty cool, and I kind of love him a lot.
I will say one of my favorites...
He was a sleeper for me. I caught him right away, Luxio, and then he ended up just staying in my party the whole time because he's very useful, very adorable.
Yes.
He's the best kind of Pokemon.
I think one of my favorite things about this new Pokemon is... you actually get to see the size in comparison to you and other Pokemon. And some
are huge, some are small.
Bigger than others just because like they're alpha or they're a bigger version. They're, Pokemon none are always the same size. But getting to see what general size these evolutions are compared to you cool. is kind of nice. Because, in my head, you always think, oh, Charizard's this huge big dragon Pokemon, and he's only like 6 feet tall. He's not that big, but like getting to see these creatures actually next to each other, I really appreciate it.
That is a cool thing about this game.
I'm trying to think. Is there any?
What about yours?
My favorite Pokemon
in this one, yeah.
Man, that's tricky. You know what? I mean, I have a lot of favorites, and I'm sad that I haven't been able to catch an Eevee because Eevees and Eeveelutions.
I've caught like 15 Eevees, and this poor man hasn't caught any.
Yeah.
I have every evolution stage.
I have kind of this secret favorite, and I haven't got him yet, but I'm going to. I actually really like Golem. It's Geodude evolves into Graveler, and I like my Graveler. He's just this big boulder kind of wandering around, and he's just goofy, but like, I kind of always liked Golem because I don't know what it is about how they set up his rocks on him, and then he just turns into this ball and just rolls over people. And it was this weird Pokemon. He's just a rock Pokemon. He's weak to a billion things because he's rock.
Yep.
But I've always kind of liked Golem quite a bit.
I know how you evolve him.
You gotta trade him.
It's different in this game.
What?
This game is meant to be a one-player based game. So instead of trading him and getting that Golem, you actually go around and collect merit points. Go to that store where you can trade merit points for items.
Yep.
You get an item called an Ox Cord. You use that Ox Cord to evolve those Pokemon that you used to have to trade for.
That changes the game. I'm getting me my Machamp and my Golem. I love it. Gengar, here I come.
This is one of those rare times when I get to tell Matt how a game works, and that never happens. I'm super proud of myself. Drop the mic. I'm out of here.
I was all sad because I was like, I ain't gonna get my Golem, my Gengar, my Machamp, my Alakazam.
You can do it.
Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to say about it? Anything else you want to add before we end? We've already gone really long. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm sorry, everybody. I really like Pokemon.
There was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's a lot of good things, a lot of new things, a lot of things that I hope that they improve on for next time. I'll always play it. I freaking love Pokemon.
Yes.
It's addicting as hell to me.
So, 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to continue playing? Like, I don't think...
Yeah, I definitely am going to finish this game.
You think you're going to finish the game?
I don't... Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, good luck trying to get me to move on to the next thing.
That's okay.
'Cause I'm not done.
And let's see. I'm trying to think.
I think that's it.
All right. I think you're up.
We got to let these poor people go.
Yeah, we're going to let you guys go. We just want to thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. We have a blast doing this. We enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy it as well. You know, let someone know that you might enjoy it. And hopefully they do.
Yeah, share it with some friends. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Sharing games that you love with people that you love.
That's kind of why we started this. Getting to share something fun with somebody you care about. Well, I'm Matt.
And I'm Rose.
This has been Co-ople Mode, and keep gaming with your bestie. Ta-ta!